Part 2, Chapter 16 of Don Quixote, Don Quixote is very pleased with his victory over the Knight of Mirrors and sets his sights on disenchanting Dulcinea del Toboso. He and Sancho Panza meet a well-dressed man named Don Diego de Miranda, who's riding to his home in a nearby village. Don Diego doesn't believe in knights errant or their histories, but he is fascinated by Don Quixote. He confesses that his son is studying poetry, which he finds to be a waste of time. Don Quixote defends the art form, and Don Diego thinks maybe he isn't so mad after all. Farther down the road, they spy a cart flying royal flags. In Part 2, Chapter 17, Don Quixote decides to battle the lions being carried by the royal cart, which are a gift to the king. The lion keeper reluctantly opens one of the cages, but the lion just cleans itself and refuses to come out. Don Quixote wants to irritate the lion, so it will fight, but the lion keeper points out that no warrior with courage need do more than challenge his enemy and wait for him to appear. By not appearing, the lion has dishonored himself, not Don Quixote. Don Quixote explains that for a man to be courageous, it is the lesser of two evils to approach the very edge of rashness rather than risk falling into the pit of cowardice. Don Quixote now wishes to be called the Knight of the Lions, and he's decided to call Don Diego the Knight of the Green Overcoat. In Part 2, Chapter 18, Don Quixote and Sancho Panza go home with Don Diego de Miranda and meet his wife and son, Don Lorenzo. Before dinner, Don Quixote tells Don Lorenzo all about knight errantry, and Don Lorenzo agrees with his father that Don Quixote is crazy. Over dinner, Don Quixote asks Don Lorenzo to recite a poem, which is received with much enthusiasm from the guest of honor. Don Quixote and Sancho Panza stay for 4 days before resuming their adventures. Cervantes packs a lot of his own opinions into Don Quixote's lengthy speeches with newfound friends. Through Don Quixote, Cervantes asserts that 17th century Spain values sloth, indifference, gluttony, and pampered luxury. These are all things he has Don Quixote fighting against in an effort to get back to the golden age of chivalry.